Welcome back to Conservative Voice Radio right here on KMET 1490 AM. I am your host, Douglas V. Gibbs. Learn more about me at douglasvgibbs.com. Time for Americanism 101 segment right here on Conservative Voice Radio. Franklin Graham has abandoned the GOP. He's fed up. He's thrown his hands up. That's it. I'm done. But he says that even the Tea Party can't save the country. Glenn, why don't you begin this segment in our discussion about Franklin Graham?
Okay, yeah, I'd like to do that because I'm a fellow Christian, just like Franklin Graham. I used to go to the Baptist church down here until I decided to go work full-time, 40 hours a week or more, whatever time I have to devote to the Tea Party. And that's where I'm putting my money at instead of giving it to the church. And the reason for that is I think that there's problems in the Christian church, and I hope that Franklin Graham is going to address these problems. Yes, Franklin Graham announced Tuesday he is leaving the Republican Party over the GOP-led spending bill passed last week, calling it wasteful and likening the funding of Planned Parenthood to Nazi concentration camps. He went on to make additional remarks about the budget and so forth, but his last little statement was, I have no hope in the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, or Tea Party to do what is best for America, he wrote. Unless more godly men and women get in this process and change this wicked system, our country is in trouble. And I think he's a little confused about the system because we have a constitutional republic based on law. The problem we have is wicked people within the Republican Party establishment, especially in California, the Democratic Party, but not the Tea Party. Most Tea Party men are God-fearing Christian men that have put their careers and everything else on the line to stand up against a juggernaut government that's totally out of control, taxing the American people, over-regulating, and destroying this country, and they got the whole world on fire in the process. Franklin Graham needs to get on board with the Tea Party. He should become an active member of the Tea Party and a crusader part of it. I went to our local church here and tried to get them on board just to show some educational films to the congregation. They totally rejected me and said they will not do that. All they do is declare the gospel and let God do the work. I personally think God will do the work, but he's dependent on his Christian crusaders to be a little more militant, get off their duff and do something and vote and become active in the community. So I'm really a little uptight with Franklin Graham. I'm going to put a call in for him, write him a letter, and let him know that he needs to find out who the Tea Party is.
Well, if Franklin Graham were to join the Tea Party, he would then understand the Tea Party. I mean, the Tea Party, they've been the only ones fighting against the establishment. I don't think he understands the Tea Party. So I guess you have to set aside the propaganda to fully understand the Tea Party, and he hasn't set that aside yet.
That's right. Every time the president makes fun of the Tea Party, and he has on many occasions on film, Nancy Pelosi tried to call us racist, etc. We merely stand for the Constitution. We know it's not being practiced in government, and the only group of people in our government that believes as we do are the Freedom Caucus, and I mentioned it in the first segment. The reason that bill was voted against because they agreed with Franklin Graham. They were horrified. We, the Tea Party, are horrified. This is wrong, and if there was a way for us to unseat the rest of the House, we would.
95 congressmen voted against this bill, and a lot of them were supported by Tea Party.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You hear that, Franklin Graham? 95 congressmen voted against it, and they were all Republicans. The Republican Party is the one we're trying to reform and bring back to the American way.
Well, Franklin Graham has to understand that instead of dividing us further, we need the talented minds to figure out ways to unite us. We need a little creativity here. He's not going to be able to garner enough evangelical persons. That base is not enough to stand alone. It can't stand alone. We need to be more creative in ways to gather us together. This division at the 11 o'clock hour is not good timing. FYI, we're on your side, Franklin Graham.
Comes back to the definition of the Tea Party, and a lot of it goes back to premises and definitions and really understanding what it's all about. I mean, that's the reason why my first book was 25 Myths of the Constitution, because we believe all these myths, and there's myths that are believed about the Tea Party, or even the idea of limited government. I remember when I ran for city council in Marietta back in 2010, and I was verbalizing that I was for limited government, and after a debate, a gentleman walks up to me and says, well, you said you're for limited government. What are you going to take away? The senior center? Parks? Because his definition of limited government was just reducing government until it's practically an anarchy. My definition of a limited government, it is a government that operates within the definitions or authorities granted to it by Constitution or the state constitution or the federal constitution, depending on that government. That's all it is. Once again, the definition was misunderstood. So here, I think Franklin Graham misunderstands what the definition of the Tea Party is, what the premise of the Tea Party is, and really what the Tea Party is all about.
I want to make one more remark directly to Franklin Graham. Charles Finney, born in 1798, a great illuminary of the Second Great Awakening, said, if America fails, if it goes down, it would be men like Franklin Graham that let it happen. Now, I know he's more of a crusader than most of the pastors, but he is very much part of a small minority, and we need to confess to ourselves, we let this happen, citizens of America. And that goes for you listeners out there, too. You got to get off the duff and get active. Don't just vote. Get active. Join a conservative Republican group, a Tea Party group. Get active with other Christians to fight back against evil. These people are chopping babies up and selling their parts. That's worse than Nazi concentration camps. Butchering human beings and selling their parts. I agree with Franklin Graham, and I support Franklin Graham because he is trying to make an effort to do something.
And, I totally agree with that. And I want to remind the listener, when you see people cringe when they hear the name Tea Party, don't agree with them. Find out about the Tea Party. Come to a meeting. Listen to what your fellow Tea Partiers stand for. Yes, we are Christian. We are many mixed races. We have an open mind, but as far as our Constitution goes, we adhere to it. So that comes off as a closed mind to the media and the current central government that we now have.
Earlier you said something, Glenn, about critical thinking. And I wanted you to bring that up again, because critical thinking is not just accepting the mainstream ideas. It's not just blindly following what the leaders say. Critical thinking is really what the Tea Party is all about, wouldn't you say?
I would say that. And 100 years ago, they used to try to teach students to have good character and moral and virtuous characters. Be critical thinkers. Do not believe what you're told and what you read and what you see on the internet or TV. You need to critically think and analyze and look for more sources of information. Get your dictionary out. Look these words up if you don't understand them. Think for yourself. You've got 5 senses that feed into your mind, and that mind is supposed to give you common sense. I'm a critical thinker. I don't believe anything anybody tells me without running it past 70-some years experience, and there better not be any contradiction, because unlike the Muslims, I believe in cause and effect.
Good point. We don't want to be one of the rats that's following the Pied Piper either.
Exactly. Okay, we need to go to break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about climate change, Cruz, Trump, and who is ISIS? Well, based on the point of view of the candidates. All of that when we return. Don't go anywhere.